Hi, Iris J here with Madrona's Pulse Teachings, Astrology for Healing. This is a weekly astro chat on kind of astro education topics, talking about Pluto. And I am here in BC just for a quick visit home during the semester, and I thought, why not be out in the woods? I'm in my favorite cedar grove. You can see one of them here with me. And especially talking about Pluto right now, transiting Pluto is sitting on the 29th degree of Capricorn. This is pretty deep, ancient earth energy that's with us all right now. So why not forsake studio lighting and just be in nature? So Pluto. Now, I'm an evolutionary astrologer, so Pluto is quite central in the interpretive framework that we use when opening up a chart. And in this talk, you know, I'm trying to kind of build some content and doing more themed talks, starting with Saturn and Pluto. I will do more videos that are really looking at, you know, Pluto in the houses. Pluto moves very slowly. Pluto is kind of an indicator of our soul groups, of our generations that we're working with in these lives. And where Pluto shows up in our chart, how its aspect, what house it's in, this gives a lot of information about our soul's journey in this life. So in this video, I really just want to introduce some key themes for Pluto as we're on these journeys, healing, evolving. Has everything to do with Pluto. So Pluto, you know, simply put, Pluto is the archetype that represents our soul, our soul's desires, what we're here to transform, what we're here to heal with, what we've been working with for, you know, most likely lifetimes, the energy that we just come in with. It's absolutely part of a karmic imprint in the chart, in our psyche. It represents areas where we are here to heal, where we're going to have reoccurring themes of healing, wherever it is in our chart. Pluto represents places where we're going to experience cycles of death and rebirth, most likely literally and metaphorically. And Pluto is incredible energy. And like many things in our cultures and societies, Pluto tends to get cast through an interpretive gaze that is rooted in the systems of meaning making that our human history has come from, which are patriarchy and colonialism. And it's really important to acknowledge this, because when we come to astrology to gain information and have a co-creative dialogue with our psyche and all that we are part of, it's important to recognize the ways that we can cast interpretive frameworks that aren't necessarily helpful and actually can re-perpetuate cycles of harm, can get us stuck in cycles of overthinking, looking for trouble, you know. And so a lot of times Pluto is just kind of this cast into this stereotype. It's a force that's greater than us. It's coming to ruin us. If you have a Pluto transit, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be destructive. There's elements of this that are absolutely true. If you're hearing a crunching, my dog is here and he is helping deconstruct the bark in the mulching process. So I'm sorry for the noises. He'll probably jump through at some point. Pluto does help us break down. That's part of what it does. That's the archetype. It helps us break down so that we can reemerge over and over and over. Now, in a society that just teaches us about a linear, straightforward path, climb the social hierarchies, gain power in a social sense, which is actually power over others, power over the earth, and that's a marker of success and meaning. If that's how we're aligned, and it's pretty hard not to have that show up. All the work we do, this is the conditioning narrative of our society. Pluto deconstructs that. Pluto in Capricorn has been showing us that organization of our social hierarchy and the way that it impacts us individually does not work. It is breaking down. And so that's part of the archetype, is to break down for the breakthrough. more so in the idea of the phoenix, right? The phoenix, that iteration of that form of life is over. It breaks down, new life emerges. This is what Pluto does. It can be disruptive. It can shake us up. A Pluto transit, I will make videos about particular Pluto transits. We all have one in our early 40s, which is the Pluto square Pluto, which is where Pluto squares our natal Pluto. And this is a breaking down of narratives, of lifestyle, of ideas of self, ideals of relationship that have served us in one way or another to that point in our life. And now, as we enter into a more maturing stage and we begin the threshold into midlife that will carry us into our elder years, the Pluto square Pluto transit is about breaking down what isn't going to serve us as we prepare to mature. And maturing here is absolutely aligned with our soul's drive, our soul's needs for healing in this life. So where we have Pluto in our chart is actually a place where we are here to receive deep healing. And this is not necessarily the way that Pluto's always read, because a lot of times it's where there's going to be struggle, it's where there's going to be power imbalance, it's where we're going to suffer. Oftentimes Pluto is aligned with grief and trauma. These are part of the archetypes. The difference comes when, instead of only looking at some external force that is causing harm, we begin to realize that we reclaim the Pluto energy within ourself. This is what astrology is about. This is what the archetypes are about. Pluto, Saturn, they're not just out there. There's Gus. They're not just out there as external forces to cause harm. They're part of our psyche. They're part of our own personality. They're energy that wants to be claimed. And, much aligned with kind of a Jungian interpretation of psychoanalysis, of psychodynamics, of archetypes. It does often work that as long as we're rejecting these parts of ourselves, and with Pluto, we're talking about deep, deep, unconscious roots. See that tree behind me? Think of the roots going under into the earth, into the dark, into the soil. This is Pluto. Pluto is underneath the surface. Pluto is not necessarily in our conscious mind. We can get insights, and especially as we come into our maturing years, we can work with that energy more consciously. But Pluto is part of our unconscious soul desire, and it's our soul desire. And that desire absolutely connects us to the collective, and part of the work that we're all here to do as a collective human species, living in concert with so many other species and ecosystems. And so this is energy that actually wants to be claimed, but not claimed in a power over, I control, I predict, in a, wow, this is an incredible life force. And I am interconnected with life force energy that I can't necessarily mentally understand, but I can feel it, and I can feel the drive. And Pluto is actually energy that's really asking us for daily practices of tapping into that place where it is in our chart. And this is where especially an EA reading is really helpful, because EA, being evolutionary astrology, is really working with a framework of Pluto and that soul drive. And so that when we become more conscious, then we work every day with recognizing these, what are very intense life forces, what are parts of our psyches that are dipping down into grief, whether this is, often Pluto does have grief and tension coming up from childhood that will travel with us in different ways throughout our adulthood. It is also sometimes ancestry, it is intergenerational trauma, it is also the collective wounds that we're all part of, just being here in nature. Pluto and Capricorn right now, the collective wounds of the ecosystems of the earth that humans have had such a responsibility for causing. And Pluto is also the energy where we lose ourselves in the collective, where we lose ourselves in the other. It is going beyond the bounds of the self and merging with others and then re-emerging anew. It's incredibly dynamic, it's incredibly intense energy, and it's real. And I think maybe the most important, I just want to keep this as a quick introduction to Pluto, that it's energy that we do not need to fear. We do not need to fear because it's our Plutonic depths. It's our Plutonic energy. Even if we've had experiences, especially if we've had early childhood experiences, when we live at the intersections of patriarchy and racism, sexism, homophobia, all of these different institutional and systemic structures of harm that are part of our culture and history. Pluto is our embodied life to work with. It's our energy to work with, and we can reclaim that, and we can separate ourselves from those ideologies and situations that harm. And in doing that, we become empowered, and then we ripple out, and that's how we change paradigms. And Pluto is all about changing paradigms, both for ourselves and the lives we want to embody. Thank you. Can you get down, please? And for society at large. Okay, so I think I'll stop there. I will do more. He wants treats. I will do more with Pluto through the houses and helping, supporting folks to work on their own Pluto energies. And with that, be well and see you soon.